Bodies of water.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Welcome to Spiritual Tea Time. Thank you guys for joining me again on this beautiful Sunday. I hope all of you are doing well wherever you are. We are going to continue today on Jesus and the Big Bang. I'm going to start with the opening prayer. Mighty beloved, I am presence within me and above me. I pour the love of my heart flame to you. I give love, praise, and gratitude unto you for thy own life, light and love in all things, visible and invisible, evolved and unevolved. Beloved Christ, the one presence in all. Divine Mother and Father presence of our universe, we greet you and thank you for the gift of life. Holy Spirit, we welcome your presence, your love, and your protection. I enter this day in God, with God, by God, and for God. I will live this day in God, with God, by God, and for God. And I will end this day in God, with God, by God, and for God. Every day I am gaining more illumination, health, wealth, strength, and love. If you guys would like to say this out loud with me, when we do decrees to the Ascended Masters, they are usually done out loud, and it helps to amplify the prayer. And this one came out last week, I believe, and it's Father Son's Decree for World Leaders. To all presidents, prime ministers, and leaders of nations and their cabinets, congresses, parliaments, and advisors, we say, the light of the Christ and the love of the Mother's presence compels you to do the right thing for your country and for the world. In the presence of the Christ, I bless the people of Ukraine, Russia, and all countries around the world. In the presence of the Christ, I bless every particle of life on this planet. Almighty Rose Christ I am. Almighty Rose Christ I am. Almighty Rose Christ I am. All right. So today, the reference material for these slides in this conversation is from the Christ Letters, Letter 5, Section 7, and then Letter 7, Section 6. The creation of individual form. Quick recap from last week: electromagnetism, twin impulses, which were the masculine and feminine, mother and father, thinking and feeling. Since science and religion miss the truth of existence. Science cannot explain why the self-replicating molecules combine themselves into a living cell. It remains a mystery to science this day. Science approaches creation from the human consciousness, the finite mind, from reason. Science is not looking at the reality of the space in which electrical particles of visible being are supported. It was the true nature of space that we looked at. We went over the impulses and what motivates them to replicate. Purpose is the very hallmark of intelligence. It's now time to ask the right questions. And now, the first living cell deserves the undivided attention of anyone seriously seeking the spiritual dimension and the mainspring of existence. Because the first living molecule and the first living cell are the very first evidence of some intelligent activity within matter, within the universe. You know, too, that since the infinite eternal impulses are contained in a state of mutual restraint, these impulses are of an unimaginable intensity of energy, against which your atomic energy contained within the splitting of an atom is a mere poof, an infinitesimal twitch of no importance. I want you to fully realize all the foregoing, since your realization of what happened at the time of the Big Bang will give you a glimpse of what happened at the time of the sundering of universal consciousness to permit the creation of individual form to take place. And those are Jesus's words. He's saying, I want you to. Universal consciousness was riven, will and purpose, Father intelligence, and Mother nurturing love. We exploded to work independently and also jointly. Their respective tools were electricity and magnetism. Riven means to tear apart or split violently. Out of the explosion of equilibrium came the great intent of self-expression. The universal awareness of being became the impulse of individualized I awareness demanding self-expression, the personality. Life and I-ness are synonymous in the dimension of matter. They became the consciousness of matter. What is the consciousness of life? It is Father intelligence, impulse of movement seen as electricity, Mother love, impulse of purpose, nurturing, survival, seen as magnetism in matter. Can you begin to imagine the explosion of consciousness of awareness? To help you fractionally visualize what happened at the moment of the Big Bang, try to recall a moment when you also experienced an explosion in your consciousness. This takes place when you have set your entire being on achieving some very important goal. About to embark on your plans, in a state of excited anticipation, some trivial circumstance or insensitive person prevents you from achieving your heartfelt purpose. How would you feel? Your concentration would be split and you would explode. I must call on my recorder to think up some examples of my meaning in human terms. For the least earthly consciousness is drawn from universal consciousness. He's talking here about how in the slide before you would explode, you set your intention, purpose, and let me just kind of bring it home a little bit. Let's think in terms of manifestation. Using my example of the restaurant, the cosmic restaurant, your intent and your purpose, you place your order. That's what you're fixed on. Something out of the blue happens that shocks your system, and I'll get into some examples. He's referring to those in human terms as the least earthly consciousness. When that hits, what happens? You get knocked off your path. You're like, and you get into doubt, fear, all of that. So just hoping that helps you a little bit here. For examples, you are at the airport, excited and ready to fly for an unexpected holiday overseas. On reaching your travel bureau counter, you discover there are no documents or tickets and no record of any reservations for flight or holiday accommodation, although you have already paid for them by credit card. How will you feel? You are dressed in a very expensive outfit, wining and dining important customers, and are about to clinch a big contract worth millions. The waiter drops a plate of hot casserole on your head. How would you feel? You go shopping and come out to the car park to find the wheels and doors of your car have been removed in broad daylight. How would you feel? Sympathetically, you open your purse to give a whining, crippled beggar all your silver, but the man straightens up, forcefully snatches the purse from you, and runs like an athlete. How would you feel? In all these instances, you would have a strong consciousness enterprise to the very front of your mind. Your head would be filled with a plan to move out and do something to achieve a certain purpose, peacefully setting your intentions. Your intent would be interlocked with your purpose, therefore in equilibrium. but note that there would be mounting tension of anticipation as you neared your goal. The greater the tension, the greater explosion. You would, in fact, be in the same state as universal consciousness, awareness, intent. Father intelligence in equilibrium with the mother purpose to give being and form to the plan you intend to create. Not only is this the blueprint of the universe and everything in existence and how it became, it's also about us, as well as this is the blueprint on how you manifest that balance. After your explosion, can you imagine the ensuing mental emotional chaos, the inability to think straight, the thoughts which would come one after another, demanding expression, none of them sensible or logical, sorry. Try to realize that you, individualized formed, are the micro of the macrocosm. In other words, the macrocosm being Mother, Father, God, the universe, creation, you are the microcosm of that. Created in the likeness and image and made up of the same matter. You are a pinhead expressing universal consciousness awareness either in equilibrium, when you meditate in stillness of thought, or as active consciousness when you think and feel, plan, and create. Therefore, if you can relate your tiny consciousness explosion to the explosion of the heavens, you will gain some small idea of the ensuing chaos, both momentarily within the universal dimension and in eons of time within the newly created expanse of the dimension of matter, still in its formless state. Okay, here's my comparison to that. The orgasm. I'm going to leave that there for right now. Therefore, many of you will have to wholly rearrange your thinking in regard to creation. It started out as a condition of utter chaos. The universal impulses were divided. There were no blueprints to direct or control the beginning of individuality. The impulses were still without any conscious form or direction. They were natural impulses to perform certain distinct impulsive functions in consciousness, but they were not intelligently directed into specific movement or bonding by any higher directing force. They were on their own, separated and lost impulses of consciousness awareness, able to receive impressions, but there were no impressions to receive other than those of interior chaos, of movement activity, of electricity, and bonding repulsion of magnetism. And this consciousness chaos was manifested within creation as chaos of particles. Within this expanse of chaos of electrical particles, however, there was the overriding awareness of I-ness. No matter what the chaos, the I-ness came through in the Father intent to move about, to take control, to create. The I-ness took initial form in a positive charge of electrical energy. What's a positive charge of electrical energy? It's a thought, an idea to create. It became the dominant I force as a proton with its satellite of negative electrical charge, whereupon mother purpose of bonding was activated in those conditions of a positive electrical charge meeting a negative electrical charge. They took to each other as one might say of the evolved male and female in living species, and bonded. Mother purpose of repulsion was also activated when two positive or two negative electrical charges looked likely to meet and react negatively. She stepped in and pushed them apart, just like her evolved female mother counterpart would separate two unruly, highly charged ruffians about to engage in a fight. This was the only form of consciousness awareness within the chaos for a very long time, since time is of no consequence within the realm of matter itself. Time only becomes of importance when there occurs an impinging of conscious awareness between electrical charges, resulting in bonding or repulsion, a progression of adjacencies and events taking place and purposes to be fulfilled. Otherwise, time is meaningless. Creation is the product of primary impulses working individually and together, making impressions upon the other, fulfilling inbuilt needs imprinted within consciousness. These needs being at the outset to increase and experience self-expression, leading to further separation, then to restore a sense of inner security and comfort, to be reunited with the harmony of universal consciousness. Doesn't that sound like the awakening journey? In this road back to ourselves, we feel separated, and we do go through a separation as we go on this journey, but we separate not to implode, but to restore the sense of inner security and comfort, to come back to our divine nature, what we are, and in that harmony of universal consciousness. Essentially, we're separating ourselves from the human consciousness so we can evolve and move on to a better us, a better life, the purpose of why we are here. Out of this driving force for a reunited harmony of being came the male-female drive for reunion to recapture the bliss which is buried in the soul consciousness. You can make an analogy of the foregoing paragraph with the habit of fathers going out to work in the morning and returning, hopefully to the comfort and reunion with family in the evening, where he regains the strength to venture forth the next morning to do battle with the world. Therefore, the process of creation, universal self-expression, took billions of years within time to accomplish. After the Big Bang, the father-mother creative process was divided into two different energies, continually working apart and together, independent, yet mutually constrained to work together, having individual characteristics or natures and different functions. Therefore, their workload is different yet indivisible. We have been living in this patriarchal form's not the word, system, rule, whatever you want to call it. I just totally lost where I was going. So much hit me at the same time. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Oh, I know where I was going. And even with all of the different systems in place, we're taught that there is just a father's presence, a masculine presence. Yes, there's Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene, things like that. And I'm speaking about religion. But what's been hidden, what has been pushed down is the mother's presence. It takes both to have the harmony and balance. And that's that's what's going on in the world right now. We are watching the patriarchal systems of materialism, greed, fear, doubt being exposed. They're coming down, making way for this seventh golden age, for the return of the divine feminine, the mother's presence, the love. You already know, and by a process of meditation, should have fully understood the nature of the father and the nature of the mother within the equilibrium of the universal dimension. Briefly, the nature of the father is to be active, creative, and perform the work of creativity. The nature of the mother is to give form to the electrical the electrical consciousnesses plan initiated by father intelligence by bonding the electrical particles together. It is also the I-ness of individualized existence. Everything living from a hornet to a hippopotamus has a strong sense of I-ness and the need to protect that I-ness. Father and mother consciousness, primary impulses, are both within the equilibrium and of the nature of the universal dimension, and consequently, as they create individual form, they carry out the work of the nature of the universal dimension, which is growth, providing nutrition, nourishment, healing, protection, fulfillment of need within a consistent system of law and order, survival. Let me break this down a little bit further. The nature of the universal dimension, which is the 9 attributes. And I believe it was, and Joan, you might keep me honest on this. When I first spoke on the 9 attributes, I think that was the beginning of spiritual tea time. So it might have been like the first one, or it was right before.
Yeah, it was a couple in.
Actually.
Okay, it was like the second one in.
Second one in. Awesome.
Only because I reviewed my notes yesterday that I can speak.
I love it. Thank you. Yes. So guys, I spoke about that on the second one. So if you want more information, you can look at that one. But the 9 attributes are inherent within us. So when you hear me or anybody else talk about your natural birthright is abundance, it's love. You were not meant to be in lack of any kind. You are not meant to have your body break down. How can we say that? It's because these 9 attributes are inherent to every particle of your being. Those are built in. This is maybe to kind of give you a comparison. When religions talk about have no worry, God takes care of the birds and all of the animals, all of that. How is that possible? Because it is built in every particle of life. So these are your natural attributes: growth, nutrition, nourishment, healing, protection, work, fulfillment of need within a consistent system of law and order, survival. Consistent system of law and order. We have lots of systems of law and order. None of them are consistent. All right, letter 7, number 6. All creation is consciousness made visible. Every living thing only thinks and acts out of that level of spiritual or ego consciousness in which they reside. Before conception takes place, the sperm is imbued with the total consciousness of the male, the future father, and the ovum is imbued with the total consciousness of the female, the future mother. During intercourse, changes take place in the mental, emotional consciousness of the man and woman. They may sense a deepening of love, caring, and drive to express their longing for greater closeness and harmony of spirit. This is a true spiritual physical union. Alternatively, as their desire for union with each other, I don't know if you guys heard that a cockatoo started screaming at the same time. Okay. Alternatively, as their desire for union with each other, I have a thing here. I can't see what I wrote. Stronger desire for self-satisfaction, this becomes an ego activity, reaping only ego reactions. However, whatever the condition of consciousness of the participants in the active union, their consciousness of desire to achieve the ultimate climax strives and drives the physical organs to move in a rhythm, producing psychic, physical energy, which gradually rises up into the brain, creating a higher and higher momentum of vibrational energy to reach a peak of near delirium and delight, bursting into an explosion of momentary ecstasy and glorious fulfillment, and then follows release and a gradual descent into human consciousness again. At the very moment of delirium, delight, the human consciousness rises to touch the divine life force, which ignites the sperm in the male and the ovum in the woman. This is where it channels up, energetically speaking, it goes up through the spine, goes up, and it's supposed to come out the top of the crown and go up to your higher presence that is above you. That is the divine life force, and then it sends it back down. Conception may not take place, but both sperm and ovum return to normal physical consciousness. When conception takes place, sperm penetrates the ovum and they are united in the highest vibrations of divine life, in spiritual and physical fusion. In united consciousness, they too ascend into their own moment of equilibrium and joy to become one, both within divine life itself and human father-mother consciousness. What does that mean? That means you are born with a human consciousness and the father-mother consciousness. Impulses, masculine and feminine, bonding, rejecting. Universal consciousness, awareness, intent, the Big Bang. What is the consciousness of life? This is just for review. It is father intelligence impulse of movement, seen as electricity, and mother love impulse of purpose, nurturing survival, seen as magnetism in matter. Next week, we're going to continue with letter 7, number 6. I'm going to go more into the conception, break down intercourse, what happens spiritually, how the ego consciousness, the divine ego consciousness is formed. All right. Got that off my screen, got everybody back here. Whew! All right. Miss Joan, I know you got some questions.
Yeah, Ginny and I were talking about this on private message. Let's see, which one of us is going to ask?
All right, sock them to me.
Yeah, sock it to me. Well, I did. I had many questions. However, some of them you're going to probably address next week. Because I had one about, well, let me ask the first one that came up for me. The separation concept you mentioned, separation and its purpose. Would you explain that a little bit more? I mean, I see separation happening in our human construct, our universal, our world, all over the place. There's this huge separation and it's getting higher and higher and tighter and tighter. And you're saying to me, this is what I grasp, if you could clarify, that that's a purpose. It increases in energy before it just poof, explodes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the purpose of separation?
So in this context,
Yes.
because the bigger context is the matrix teaches the program of separation
Yes.
with that fall from grace, that there was this separation from God source, and based on our actions and beliefs, somebody out there is going to judge us. So that the duality. So that's that separation. This separation in this context that I was talking about.
Like divine separation? I mean, is that how you would call it? A divine separation or versus the matrix separation? I'm just trying to put it in like, I don't know, 2 boxes or something. Yes.
And it may end up being in one box.
Right.
So yes. Okay, so going with the basis, there was no separation of God and us. So setting aside the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
Because and that's what the awakening journey is about, because that is so ingrained that we were taught that, and it goes right against the truth of creation as we just went through. So the truth of creation being mother, father consciousness, male or masculine, feminine energy, both with intent and purpose. So essentially, we were taught that the fall from grace was because, well, we know what we were taught. The truth of it is we chose to separate ourselves from our higher knowledge. That's for a whole nother discussion.
Right.
So now the separation that you're seeing play out in the world, which is also playing out within us as we're awakening, is coming back to the truth of the knowledge. You were not born a sinner.
Right.
You were not born, needing somebody or something outside of you to say you're worthy and you can, go live wherever. We are separating ourselves from the matrix beliefs. So there is originally, trying to break it down because it's different pieces you're going to have to, we need the yarn.
I used to, in my old days of looking at structures, you use a flow chart,
Yes.
So we need a flow chart.
Yes, we do.
Or a family tree. Yeah.
We do. I keep picturing, of course, I'm old school, the big whiteboard. And
exactly.
Right. Yeah. We definitely need diagrams, people. I promise you we need diagrams. Because this is so, we're separating from finite mind, human intellect, back into the infinite consciousness of our true being. The Christ consciousness. So the Christ wasn't just a person. It wasn't just Jesus. Jesus, that was his name, his human name. The Christ, and he became the Christ after he went through that desert experience, because that's when this awakening happened for him. To relate his desert experience, and that literally is like going into your cocoon. He faced his ego, and he faced the world ego. We know that as Satan.
Okay.
This is what we're now doing, going back. So Jesus's life here literally was what we were. That was the path back to resurrection, back to enlightenment, ascension, is coming back to this, of the truth of who we are, how everything was created, and that we are that I am presence, but we're here to be individuals. And the human consciousness in its divine state was meant to be, the ego was meant to be the master librarian, helping us decide what we bond to, and what we reject, Pepsi or Coke. Nothing more. But because of the state of the consciousness in the world, the human consciousness, the matrix programming, we all grew up under this. We all had to work through this. Now that started because way back when, in our infinite minds, because we are infinite beings, decided we got bored here we came to Earth in these physical bodies to experience creation in the physical, because we already knew what we were and how to manifest and create. Now here's this planet of 3-dimensional. So for us, creation literally is, or manifesting, let's bring it down to that. You set your intent and your purpose, you put your heartfelt feelings, your love into that, it's supposed to instantly manifest. Why don't we experience that? Because we've been covered over with so much density from the matrix. So the awakening is coming out of that density back to the truth so we can move and manifest as the creators that we are.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did I answer it?
You did. And I'm sure Jenny has questions, so I'll be quiet for a while.
On that topic, I'm trying to understand. Okay, so this whole situation let's use Russia, Ukraine as an example, that's happening in the world. It's to bring us back to the reality, which seems to be happening in the world, that we're all the same, we're all love, and people are starting to support. An example would be how there's so many countries going in support of the poor people that are innocently being hurt and attacked, right? But what about the ones that are doing this? Do they eventually realize through what they're doing that it's wrong?
So let me try to break this down, because there are war entities, and entities are nothing more than human thought forms, thoughts and emotions. But since the fall from grace, there has been the war energy. What we are witnessing now is the last of that coming up to be exposed, because there has been so much etheric and energetic damage done to the planet and every life form because of the war energy. So people are given, this is the Great Awakening, this is the spiritual war, spiritual battle. The physical is playing out what it needs to for the exposure and the love. The people who are light workers, they're holding the light to bring more light. This is why the Ascended Masters are coming closer to be able to assist, because guys, Ascended Masters cannot do anything without us asking. We are free will beings. So without asking, they can't do anything. It's not that we're begging them, it's more they're begging us, hey, we're here, please turn to us so we can help you. We have turned our backs to the truth and spirituality and all that could really help. So now you're seeing, and you guys who are a part of my community are the force, the light workers that are here for this time and this purpose, because only love and the divine feminine presence of that love is going to be able to overcome this. And this is what all of these years, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, have led up to. Now, the media and the systems that are out there, they are not sharing truth. They have an agenda. Media in all of its forms, movies, journalism, all of that, they are playing a role. They are matrix based. We are going to start seeing that being exposed. And that's why in the Christ letters, he basically begs us to turn away from the media and all of that, feeding that into our system, because that goes onto our cells. Everything we put our attention on and you get a feeling inside of you, that gets written on your cells. So if you're watching the news and it doesn't matter what side you're on, because right now you're watching things play out. Who's to say? What if neither side is right? There's a whole other thing going on. But when we have an opinion of it and we choose sides, we're in judgment. Instead of coming back and just saying, okay, that's the matrix, that's going on there. Yes, it's horrible, not saying that, but being enlightened and knowing truth, here's how I can be of service. And that's, and Jenny, I know you go to the Radiant Rose Academy and all of that, the Tuesday night planetary decrees or teleconference that we do. That's what we're doing. We're decreeing with these ascended masters for the light and the love, for all of this to come to an end as soon as possible.
Yeah. So then my husband and I were talking about this. Somebody turned us on to, and then we watched like 2 episodes of something that it's called The Shield, which was a show on years ago. And it was so violent and about police in Los Angeles, this police station, and how they would antagonize each other and be awful towards each other. And those who they saw as wrong and evil, the druggies or whatever, they were like putting under. And I thought, that's just encouraging that same thing. And I finally turned to my husband. Thank God he and I are so similar, not similar, we are on the same page in so many things. I said, this really ignites some crap inside of me I don't want to ignite, a righteousness or a repulsion. Mm-hmm. So you're even speaking of course, those kinds of things, correct? 100%. Not just the media.
100%. And this is why you're now seeing a switch in Hollywood. If you notice the films that are now coming out, as you're more enlightened and taking this in, you're going to see these messages. They've been in front of you the whole time. But now we have been so silenced, and it had to be hidden because, yes, Hollywood, TV, everything that we take in via our senses through television and movies is designed to, especially the horror movies and fear, the killing, all of that, it goes into your cells. Those images create feelings. So yeah.
And online gaming that my grandson who's 14, so enmeshed with, it's so violent and vile and sexual. And I'm like, wow. And that's what we're, as a very young being, we're putting deeply in. Do we see that shifting too? Or
100%.
No?
And it's already happening. I'll put together a list of shows that will help, but Dr. Strange, he went into a Himalayan mystery school. Dr. Strange, the DC Legends of Tomorrow. There's so many. I'll have to put them all together, but yes. Even like Aquaman. You know, Disney took such a big hit in the 70s, 80s, and 90s from the religions and how he was Satanist and all this stuff. Guys, there's truth in Disney. There is truth in Disney. So I'll let you do your research. You guys go watch and feel it out. But yes, be very careful. And this is why I tell everybody, do what you can to turn away from the media. It's only feeding the ego drive, and it's designed to keep you back. Now, there are You have to go and kind of search them out and find them. There are outlets I don't even know if they're underground, but outlets that are speaking truth. You're just not going to see it on TV. There's those of us, you can find us on YouTube and wherever that, yeah, there is hope. Because, you look at the media, it's driving the fear, the doubt, all of that lower vibration, because that's how they can control. And it's worked for all these years.
So Denae, are you saying that we shouldn't take a side as far as, like you were talking about, when you take a side, you're sitting in judgment. So does that mean, like with what's going on in the war or here or in the world, we shouldn't like take a side on, well, this is wrong, this is right, this shouldn't be happening, or these people are wrong? Does that mean we should not do that?
Yes, because that's 100% judgment. And it's judgment based on opinions, because nobody knows the truth of what's happening behind the players on this matrix stage. So if you want to take it back to like the matrix, the red pill or the blue pill, the answer is don't take either pill. Red pill or blue pill, it's still the matrix. So if your consciousness or anybody's consciousness is still into, well, this is right, this is wrong, that's that matrix duality human consciousness ego. Because the Christ consciousness knows that we are all one, and what is playing out is the matrix. And now we are actively raising the vibration and ascending, bringing in that truth.
The purposeful killing of people, isn't that like a basic wrong? Or is that we're taught like in the Old Testament or not?
Well, yeah, nobody should go around killing people, but the consequences are to your own soul. Because again, the fuller truth is there is no death. They're killing a physical body. The soul never dies, but that energetic imprint is still there. That's why we go through reincarnation. We come back and we have to, the whole human experience is about living in the matrix, awakening, ascending, coming back to the fuller truths so that we can take down the matrix.
It's so confusing. It's so complex.
Yeah. And moving from the matrix and that programming of judgment, that is a natural part of the human impulse. It's that matrix twisted part where it's judging right and wrong versus bonding and rejecting. When we come back into that state of oneness and love and the enlightenment of the fuller truth, that ego impulse of bonding and rejections comes back into its normal state. It's not that good or bad. They're right, they're wrong. Because again, just like you're learning who you truly are, and as you look back on your past and kind of go, God, I can't believe I did that, or I don't even recognize that person, because that person, that matrix version of you, was playing that role in your life. It was never who you really are. Each of these people that are involved in this, they all will have to face their karmic debt. And it's every human's, this is the purpose for us to come back to truth. Now, going back to the people who are in that warmongering energy, there are some that not everybody's going to turn towards the light, guys. They're just not. There is a whole other place that they go to. Will that energy be removed off the planet? Yes. We are here to remove energy off the planet. And those whose hearts are not going to come and turn towards the light or awaken sufficiently to bring the love, they won't be a part of this. But it has to act out first, because again, think of like COVID. When that happened, that exposed so many other things that were hidden in plain sight. That's what this war is doing. It is going to expose more. I'm not minimizing the tragedy or any of that, but you also have to remember the fuller truth is love wins. And if these people who are so bent on causing harm to other life beings, they are not going to be allowed to do that. But it's not going to be this, oh, Jesus, come help us, and then poof, all the bad people are gone, or, you know, or they're left. That's the construct we have to break down, because otherwise the rest of it, our finite mind cannot grasp it.
So everyone is given a chance.
Oh yeah, because it's a free will choice. Everyone is given a chance.
Okay, I get it.
There is no hell, but that doesn't mean they're going to, you know, these warmongers who aren't going to change, that they're going to leave their body and live a great life. No, but drop the construct of, you know, Satan and hell and flesh burning off, and that is the Matrix theater. That is the human Hollywood consciousness.
Okay.
One of the things that Panache Desai speaks to on this thing, that you mentioned, that it's shifting, and it's going to shift for everything, everyone. He says the door is open and you can go through willingly, or you can go kicking and screaming. Either way, you're going through the door.
Absolutely. 100%. Yep. And so it's all about bringing that back to, it's all about the experience. Do you want to resist and be in control and ego? Okay, that's your kicking and screaming. That's how you're going to go. Or are you going to just kind of go, okay, let me try this door. Let me try door number 2. Haven't been through that one. Come on. And go through it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Well, I did find it, I finished reading letter 2. I've been taking my time with it. I decided I'm better with reading than I am auditory. Auditory, my mind will wander. The monkey mind takes over, and before I know it, I haven't heard 90% of it. So reading, I can be aware of that and stop and go, wait a minute, I just read a paragraph. What did it mean to me? At the end of letter 2, Jesus is like, you know, I've been doing this for 3 years. Whoosh, I'm done. You know, I'm not doing this again. And I'm thinking, oh yeah. So, you know, when we keep thinking Jesus is coming back as that form or that way, we don't realize Jesus was just as frustrated with it as we see all of us who are more awakened. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jesus felt that he had to learn how to bring in his divine self. He had all the human emotions because he was. And he literally left the blueprint. And yeah, 3 years in, he's just like, holy crap, you people are stubborn as the donkeys. You guys are just not going to get this. I'm exhausted.
Yes.
You know, and think about that to your own path. How many times have you felt that on this awakening path?
Well, we fight for our limitations. That's the part that cracks me up.
Exactly.
You know, somebody I was talking to the other day, and it's like we're talking about healthy eating, whatever that might be for each of us. You know, there's so much conflict around that.
Right.
And she said, well, I'd like to do that, but my girlfriend calls that the yeah, but. And there we are fighting our limitations, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it so reminds me, we love our, because then we get to keep what we're doing that doesn't feel good.
Ego loves to justify.
Yeah.
That's why I call it's mental masturbation. We're just going back and forth with ego in our different forms, because soul, the truth of your being, just knows. And it's just been sitting in the background waiting. hey, I'm here, because your soul is not going to fight ego. Guys, don't ever think that, like the old cartoons where the devil's on one shoulder and the angel's on the other, you're really just fighting. It's altered ego fighting with itself. Kind of like those shadows I talked about that we're going to meet. It's all of those. Your soul's just sitting in that trunk just going, when are these fools going to zip it? I'm running out of popcorn. You know, because soul knows the truth. And yes, it is leading you. Has soul gotten louder? Absolutely. You know, once you open to awakening and you're on this path, you know, soul knows it's time and it has a destiny and a purpose. And yep, kicking or screaming, or are you just gonna go with the flow?
Yeah. You said the ascended masters really can't just come in and take over without our allowing, asking, well, you know, giving them permission, opening the door, whatever. And that reminds me so much of all the altered ego decisions I was speaking to. Well, I ought to eat healthy. However, I rather would eat this, you know? Yeah. So it's like, we invite that in. I mean, we're the one that goes to the grocery store. We're the one that, you know, pulls it off the shelf or orders it online, whatever. We're the ones saying yes to that and not saying, wait a minute. Yeah. So yeah. It's much like that, is it not? I mean, everything is, yeah.
It is. And, you know, for me on this path, it helped me to go, okay, I could spend my time doing ego stuff, or I can go, wait a minute, I now have access to the ascended masters. I have access to the divine in a new way. Why am I not gravitating towards that? Because that is going to help me. But we love our excuses and our habits. And so we'll sit over here with altered ego and give ourselves all these excuses as to why we should, you know, eat the cookies or do this or do that. When over here, you know, the ascended masters are like, hey, I'm waiting for you to open the door. I'm out here. I can't just walk in your door. I can't just walk in your house and tell you what to do. You know, guys, that's another thing. Ascended masters don't tell us what to do. It's not this, you know, they told you this, and if you don't do it, no. They're here as guides. They've walked this path. They have succeeded in the ascension and resurrection process. They literally are teachers and guides for us. They will never come in and tell you, you have to do this, you have to do that, or you have to do it this way. They will give you suggestions and guide you, but they always have to honor your free will. All right, guys. I am going to end it a little bit early today just because that headache is still coming back. So I'm going to go take care of that. But I want to thank you guys for joining me today. As soon as this comes back, I will send it out and post it up on YouTube. I hope it gave you guys some things to go think about and ponder.
Oh, certainly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Bless you for your wonderful gifts to us, your guidance, your teaching. I very much appreciate that. And I will continue on with letter 3.
Yes. Thank you guys for showing up for yourselves and for me. I honor each and every one of you. And it really is a pleasure to do this every week for you guys.
It was good today.
Yeah.
Feel better, Denae. Feel better.
Thank you. And next week, we're going to talk about, let's talk about sex, baby.
Yeah, because I had questions about the whole conception concept, not so much the literal logistics of it, more along the lines why some people have difficulty conceiving and all the games and tricks that we've been doing to get to have children, you know.
It's true.
So next week, you're probably going to get a lot of those answers.
Thank you. I figured
and we
so.
are going
to
break down the mechanics.
I don't mind that either. I
Yeah.
just was thinking, there's got to be something about all this craziness where, so many people are pushing to have babies, their own, and going through all the chemicals and all that to do so. I really feel for them. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to go through that, and it's going to tie in with what we've been talking about because it's all consciousness. Next week, we'll get into how our individual consciousness was formed from our father and mother, and we're going deep.
And would you send out another email with the link? Just
Yes.
only because I thought, well, I actually went to your Facebook page and confirmed the number, the digits before I logged in. So
Perfect.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I will resend that email as well so you guys have the fresh link.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, have a great weekend.
Be well.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.